Well, good evening, and thank you so much for coming out tonight. My name is Linda Pritchett, and I am welcoming you to the community meeting to discuss the Opportunity School District. Welcome to Destiny Christian Center International. We want to thank Pastor Glenn Allen for allowing us to have this event here. I would like to open up with prayer first. Dr. Wells, will you?
Father, we thank you. We thank you for your grace and your mercy. We thank you, Father, for allowing us to come here collectively. We ask, Father, that you be in the midst of us and that you cover us as you cover our children. We ask, Father, that you touch the hands of every leader here and that the right decisions are made in regards to our children. We will always give you praise, honor, and glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Again, my name is Linda Pritchett, and I am a candidate for House District 63. I'm running for state representative. And I also want to acknowledge other candidates that are here today. Any other candidates that are here that are running in this election, if you would please stand. And you can come and introduce yourselves.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Kathy Adams, and I'm running for House of Representatives seat in District 64.
I'm Brian Williams. My husband is running for House District 64. He's not here yet for another meeting, so it's a ticket, but he's on the
Thank you very much. And I am a Democrat. I think that most of the other candidates here are Democrats as well. However, the purpose for this meeting is not to promote, say, just the Democratic agenda. I felt that it was very important that we discuss this critical matter because this is pertaining to what the governor is proposing to be on our November ballot as a constitutional amendment. The Opportunity School District is basically a concept that the governor is proposing or he's come up with in order to basically, it seems like, take over of failing schools. And what we want to do is provide the public, the voters, with the information, the actual language that will be on the ballot. And the reason that we're providing this information is because it's going to sound good. It is deceptive, misleading, and we need you to know what will be on the ballot and then what's behind it and what it's actually designed to do so that you can make an informed decision when you vote in November. And so I'd like to open up with our first presenter, Wendy Harper, and she is with the Georgia Federation of Teachers.
Thank you. Good evening. The Georgia Federation of Teachers is a labor union, and we represent teachers and school-related personnel. We are affiliated with the American Federation of Teachers and the AFL-CIO. Is this the first time any of you are hearing about OSD, Opportunity School District? Good. If you have gotten a packet from us on the front where it says vote no, the language that is going to be on the ballot says, shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended to allow the state to intervene in chronically failing public schools in order to improve student performance? Now, if someone did not or has not ever heard of OSD, will probably vote no. So I'm sorry, vote yes, because it sounds good, doesn't it? And it's like Linda just said, it's deceptive. What the governor is trying to do is he has identified failing, what he calls failing schools across the state. If this amendment passes, he can go in and take over completely. That means most of the employees will lose their jobs. If you look at the bill, if you go to the internet, on this sheet at the very bottom is our website. If you read the bill, It's not talking about educating children. What, in a nutshell, it's about taking over the money. And in order for him to legally be able to do so, he has to change the Constitution. It means personnel may not be certified. The governor would choose a CEO, we call him czar, who will only answer to the governor, not to the state school board, not to the parents, not to the taxpayers. We are encouraging you to vote no, and so our schools can remain under local control. What the governor is doing, if he's trying to get a bill passed, has already been done in New Orleans, Detroit, and the schools have failed miserably. So why would you pattern after a systems that have already failed? They've proven to have failed. On the second, the yellow sheet, does everybody have a packet? It's explaining OSD, what we call it in a nutshell. We're hoping that you would share this with others. The blue sheet is from our national affiliate, the American Federation of Teachers, and here they're showing how you can fix a failing school if it is indeed failing. First of all, we have to fully fund. Money has been taken away from by the last two governors. We've had teachers to be furloughed. In some of the rural areas, they're going to school 4 days a week instead of 5. That's not quality education. The second thing is recommended that we have teacher collaboration. Ask the teachers what they need. That's just like if I go to the hospital and tell the surgeon what scalpel to pick up, and I've never been to medical school. We also, and this is very, very crucial, we need parental involvement. We need a strong, integrated curriculum. Is that pretty much covered? Okay. Any questions? Other materials that we have is a postcard where it says vote no on the OSD, Georgia kids deserve real opportunity. And it's really talking about the money. Now remember, if the schools are taken over, the governor also has the authority to take the money that was allocated for that school. So in Fulton County, where I retired, we have 7 schools on the list. If he takes those schools, he takes the money, and Fulton County may not be able to pick that staff back up. Because remember, he's creating a whole new school district. So it's crucial that we vote no. We're going around to the ministers' groups, we're going around to sororities and fraternities, we're going to neighborhood meetings, because we have to get the word out. A lot of people don't even know about this. We have staff members who are even in the schools that have been named failing who don't know about this. That their own jobs are on the line. So please, if you call the Georgia Federation office, if you have an event, we'll be glad to help, put you on the calendar. We provide materials. On our website, we have all these materials on the website that you are welcome to use because they are not copyrighted. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Good evening. Our next presenter is going to be Benjamin Straker, and Benjamin is with the Clayton County School System, actually the Board of Education there. So he's going to share with you some information from his perspective and perhaps some details on how it impacts his county.
Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Linda, thank you for inviting me. Once again, my name is Benjamin Straker. Disclaimer. Although I sit on the Clayton County School Board, I'm not representing the Clayton County School Board tonight. I'm not representing them. I'm simply representing myself, my concerns as a regular tax-paying citizen. So anything that comes out of my mouth is a representation of how I feel and my perspective on the OSD. All right, finish with the disclaimer. I remember when OSD first came out, I was leaning more towards saying, hey, this is a great idea. I thought, this is a great idea. About time somebody is deciding to fix the system. That's what I went through. And I remember doing the research. And as I was going through the research, I didn't flip over. I just kept saying to myself, I'm so tired of these public schools, the systems, the politics, and the things that go on with the public school, that this sounds like a fantastic idea. Now, I have to go back. I'm going to get into something personal, just so that you can stay with me as I'm presenting this. But I was asked, what do I do for a living? And I'm an insurance agent. And I remember when 3 years ago, President Barack Obama came up with the idea that everyone should have insurance, and you know, anybody that was uninsured should be entitled to insurance. And I thought it was a great idea. It's a great idea. Everybody, you know, about time. It's time that people get covered and have that ability to stay healthy. And I remember when they started laying out exactly how this was going to, you know, be implemented, I started scratching my head and I go, oh boy, here comes a real mess. Then when you thought about the division in the parties, you knew that it was going to get extra messy. So some states signed on, and I'm going through this for a purpose. If you stay with me, you'll see how I tie this into OSD. And I remember some states, the Democratic states, decided we're going to go full-fledged with what the president is proposing. And then the Republican states said, absolutely not. We will do whatever we have to do to prevent this from going through. Now, me as an insurance agent, I could care less. Plus, they were telling me that when this bucket of people open up, I was going to become rich because I was going to sign up every single person to this new Obamacare and make a true living. So obviously, I'm going to be for, you know, this change. Then it got implemented. Then it came out. I remember the launch, and the first thing that happened was that the website froze up on everybody, and boy, the news couldn't get enough of that. All right, that's enough of my story when it comes to my insurance. Why did I just tell you that story? The reason I told you that story is because at the beginning of this conversation, I told you that, you know, I was scratching my head saying, hey, I could be for this OSD. But then I thought long and hard. And then I started thinking about the reality of when government gets involved with something too much. When they begin to stick their nose into things that if they helped fix it, maybe it would work better, as opposed to trying to blow up the system and say, hey, let's bring up a whole new system. It's almost like a guy that dates a girl and then says, hey, it's not working out with this girl. And then they go to the next girl and they have the same problems. That's how OSD started to become clear to me. When we thought about that, let's think of what the issues are. It's a great idea. We all want the best for our children. There's not one person in this room right now that does not want the best for their children. Here's the problems that I have with OSD. These are the problems. Although it's a great idea, great concept, when we start talking about implementation and you don't give me enough information in black and white on exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, it becomes very, very gray at that point. Now, let's look at some of the things. The governor, years ago, a couple years ago, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, the governor began to cut the budget for education in the state of Georgia. He began to say, every time the budget would come through to the senators and the House representatives, he would find a way to say, oh, they don't need that, and he cut, and he cut, and he cut, and he cut. He cut to the tune of $12 million. Cut it right out of the budget. You don't need this, you don't need that, you don't need this. When he began to cut that, obviously that's going to have a ripple effect on what we're doing, because we barely can survive with the amount of money that we have. So if you start taking away, you will see the effect of taking away money out of a budget where local districts are trying to manage these schools. With that being said, all of a sudden, he comes out and he says, schools are not working. Mr. Governor, you were the one that made our schools get in a worse situation. So how can you come out now and say, it's not working, we need to take it over? I get very suspicious of people that come out and say, something is not working, and then when we look back and we dig through history and we see you were the cause of it not working, but now you want to stand on the soapbox and say, I got a better idea. Now, here goes where it gets tricky. It gets tricky because then I start trying to think, when we look at the history of our governor, he really hooked up a lot of friends at his time of office. A lot of his friends seem to have gotten really nice contracts, really nice deals, and really nice tax credits. Am I correct? With that being said, I then started to put on my detective hat and start saying, okay, so what's really going on here? OSD is an attempt, in my opinion only, OSD is an attempt to hook up some friends. Why do I say that? The reason I say that is because what happens is if I take over a school district from the local districts and it now becomes mine, I then can find organizations that probably helped me get into office 8 years ago to now say, hey, do I got a deal for you? You can have a building, you could have a district, and we're going to throw a bunch of kids in there, which will court for the whole deal. And then all of a sudden, the money that used to go to the local districts are now going to these organizations that are called charter schools, which are not real public charter schools, but corporation charter schools, that now gets money that we need in order to take care of the children that we are a lot more familiar with taking care of. When I say that, what does that mean? When you look at a lot of the schools that are falling on this failing list, how do they look? They look like me and you. And this is the thing that gets me. You're telling me that our system is not working, but stats are showing you, right in Clayton County, that we're getting better. When you look at Clayton County stats, it doesn't say that we've made it. We got principals right in the room right now that'll tell you, yeah, we haven't reached the goal. But if you look back 5 years ago and you look at where we're at today, we've made tremendous strides. And let me just stop for a second. Am I correct? Okay. So I am right. I'm not just talking. We have somebody in here that runs a school and can tell you that it's a little bit better than 5 years ago. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because I want everybody to visualize this. Let's pretend my daughter's she's a track star in New York City. And it's so funny, every time she gets on that track, I remember when she used to get on the track and they used to stagger the lines. Remember they used to stagger the line? Like the lane 1 starts here, lane 2 starts here, and lane 3 starts there. When she first got into track, I remember sitting in the bleachers and saying to myself, that's not fair. It's not fair that they're staggering these lines. And then I was educated to the fact through my daughter that, Daddy, although the lines are staggered, it's still the same distance. It may look like we're starting behind, but it is the same distance. Now, unfortunately, I can't say that for the governor's plan to move us forward, because in our system, we're doing well. We are. We're making moves. We're coming together now. Even my board we're coming together. We're putting in plans in Clayton County that's definitely going to work in the future. It's definitely going to work. But if you start me on the starting line and I'm way back here, and then the regular, it's funny, when I was talking to my fellow school board member, I was so entertained because he's going to get up and he's going to talk, and he's telling me some serious truths. Like when he was talking to me, he's really, I listened to him, and he said, Fayette County is not going to really have the problems that APS, DeKalb, Clayton, we're not going to have that problem. We have a better parent participation. We don't have as much poverty as those other districts. So you've got me starting back here with poverty, with lack of parent involvement. When I'm starting here, then I got to run that race. And then I get to the finish line just like everybody else. I get there. But then you want to look at me and say, you got a failed system. It shows me that there's something else that's behind this that's probably not being told the truth. Lastly, my last point is, the government set up school boards, local school boards, for a purpose. There was a purpose. You go out, you elect individuals to represent 16, 17,000 individuals per district, and these individuals are supposed to advocate and brag about the system. That's what we're elected to do. We get there because as we represent our constituents, we're supposed to watch those budgets, make policies and procedures, hire superintendents that are going to get us to where we need to go. I think when our taxpayers take their time to walk to that voting poll, do their research, and elect us, those people should be trusted to say, we know what kind of representation we want in our community. With the OSD, there's going to be no control on who takes over our system. You don't make that decision. You pay taxes, your children go to those schools, but you won't be involved in any of those decisions. My last part is, and the speaker prior to me did allude to this, my last thing is if you really, see, we watch Donald Trump, and we watch the elections, and we watch these primaries, and as we watch it, we're entertained, and it's hilarious, and we see all the stuff that's happening in the background that we're not paying attention to, and then all of a sudden it was, oh snap, Donald Trump is actually winning. Nobody thought that was going to happen. It snuck up on us. Well, that's what they're trying to do when they put the verbiage together that says, shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended to allow the state to intervene in chronically, it's a word that gets me, chronically failing public schools in order to, and I want everybody to feel these last few words, improve student performance. You're an idiot if you say no to that. Who would say no to that? I would expect everybody to pick up a chair and throw at me if you said no to this. See, but that was their way. That's my conspiracy theory. That's their way of making sure that at the end of the day, this goes through, and then they can look at us and say, every big corporation that's in the state of Georgia will now take over school districts to the point where when a failing school gets taken over by the state, do you know that they don't have to give us back, physically give us back that building that they took over? It belongs to them now. So now, when they have those little frictions with school boards about charter schools being allowed into the local district, we won't have a say because they own the building. They can do whatever they want with that building. So, in conclusion, and we'll talk more about this and you'll hear other people, but in conclusion, all I'm saying is that we as a community, we as a voting body, we gotta start looking deeper into, the decisions that we make when government gets involved. Gotta look a little deeper. Gotta understand every single aspect of it before we say that something is good. Because remember, at the beginning of my presentation, I told you I thought it was good. They would have got me if I wouldn't have been sitting in one of these audiences. Because if I was the uneducated voter, why would I say no to those words? Thank you.
Excellent. Now we're going to hear from Leonard Pressburg. Leonard is with Fayette County Board of Education.
Good evening. So, talk a little bit about this amendment. Shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended? It's always interesting to me, especially being a Democrat and being accused of being the liberal one in this conservative state, when the most, these people who claim to be our most conservative members of our society want to amend our Constitution. That should give you pause, right? Conservative people don't want to amend constitutions generally. So it's concerning to me that we have this founding document that we rely on a daily basis that we want to change. Allow the state to intervene. Intervene is kind of an interesting word to use there, isn't it? Intervene kind of means to me like maybe come, help out, do something, get involved. But what this really does is it gives just the state, right, all the control over the money and the buildings and what happens there. It doesn't really give them any rules or regulations about what they should do to help out or make things better. It just puts them in charge because we should trust them, right? Because they're the state. Well, it's sort of the state. It's really actually just whoever the governor picks. So it's the governor's friend, so we should trust them with all the money and the power because they're going to make it better, because this is a chronically failing public school, except we're going to write the rules about how we grade the public schools to tell you which ones are failing, and we're going to use a new test this year, but we still know that it's chronic because the tests correlate, but it's not really performance. So if we take into account things like poverty and community situations by doing some math and calling it growth. But so we're going to decide what's chronically failing in order to improve student performance. And if that's too complicated, we're just going to leave that part out. This doesn't say anything about, things that we know work to actually help kids and communities, and they involve, programs like community schools and wraparound services and providing the things that our children and families need, rather than just deciding that my friend is going to be in control now because he must know better, even though he's never actually been to your community or met these children or these teachers who we don't think are doing a very good job. But, when the state superintendent went and toured some of these schools right after he got in office, before there ever was this OSD idea, he went to some of these schools and he wrote a fascinating blog article about walking into these buildings and meeting these administrators and these teachers and seeing these kids and thinking that he was in this wonderful elementary school, except he knew that those CCRPI numbers for those schools were failing. And so he wrote about how those scores don't really reflect what goes on in these buildings every day with these committed teachers and administrators working with these kids and these families. So, it got alluded to before. One of the problems we have here in Fayette County is because these numbers that the state uses to decide which of these schools are failing count a whole lot of things in addition to how good those administrators and teachers are. It means that the schools in Fayette County aren't on this list of potential takeover schools. And, it reinforces that belief that people have all over this country that public schools are failing, but not mine, because I know my school is good. It's the other schools that are failing, and we got to do something for those other people. But I like my school. And this just reinforces that, because in Fayette County, it's an abstract thing to help other people in these other communities. So, you know, one of the things that we are trying to do to raise awareness as the Democratic Party here in Fayette County is on our May primary ballot. We will have a question on there. And you know, in our research on the OSD and thinking about it really was, we decided we would reword the question a little bit to put on our ballot to maybe raise awareness of the issue. So all the Democrats who pull a ballot in Fayette County will get this question instead. Shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended to allow an appointee of the governor to bypass the authority of your elected school board and superintendent of schools to take over operations and funding if a school has low standardized test scores? Yes or no? And that's what we got to vote on in November, and that's what we have to make people in this community realize what's at stake, what does it mean to amend our Constitution, undermine the strong tradition of public education that we have in our state, you know, just so the governor and his friends can control more things in more of our communities. So, thank you.
And now we have Jerry Stokes with Clayton County, who's joined the audience, and she's going to give us some insight.
Yeah.
Good evening. Actually, I'm Jessie Gorey. That's why I didn't. It's no problem. I wasn't sure. Well, I'm just going to come up here. I'll give the disclaimer, as my colleague said, that I'm not here speaking for the Clayton County Board of Education. I'm here speaking as Jessie Gorey, taxpayer that resides in the county of Clayton. And I'm just going to say this. Just say no. Just say no. Because we say OSD, we say Opportunity School District. I call it the Occupied School District. Because basically, all the governor is going to do is occupy the school district. Now, as a taxpayer, I do not appreciate the fact that someone can just gallop in to my community and sees right now, we have 3 schools on the list in Clayton, which are Charles Drew, Riverdale High School, and Forest Park High School. 2 of those high schools are in my district. I don't think that anybody has the right to come over and take my property, especially since I am, not only am I a taxpayer, I pay taxes for the schools, but I also pay an additional 1-cent sales tax called SPLOS. And we just renovated Forest Park High School to the tune of $26 million. Drew was the next to the last school that we built. And then there's Riverdale High School, where we will be putting a $12 million gymnasium on it for the students that live in that district. So I'm not ready to let Governor Deal have that. Not only is this an issue of coming up with so-called new educational reform, we just received, we just met the deadline where we had the other choice of either your district becoming a charter district, well, it was called IE Square, it's now called the, Strategic Waiver School System, or status quo. So by June of, I believe, last year, every school district was supposed to decide upon one of those models. So then, we just met that deadline. So now you decide you want to have an opportunity school district. Not only is this an issue of property, of losing local board control. I hate to throw this word out here. I said it at the retreat on Saturday. But to me, then you have ownership of children. And I think that an amendment of the Constitution freed us from that some years ago. I'm not going to put the word out there, but you know what I'm saying. So as a parent, the question is, we don't even know what happens with children. What if, this passes? And what if you don't want your child to go to that school? What do you own my children as well? If you have the OSD, does the OSD have a football league for the kids when school starts? Do they have their own? What are they? Are they 7A? So I have as I said, just say no to it, because the governor, not only is he trying to have control over these schools, and all the schools that we're looking at across the state are predominantly minority schools, he is also trying to supersede. We already have a superintendent of the schools that is an elected person. Now, as a member of GSBA, of course, what they're trying to do is flip that. They want to have an appointed superintendent and elected state school board members. Right now, they appoint the school board members, and there's an elected superintendent. So all you're doing is creating a whole another layer of educational hierarchy, and that is the problem in Georgia. Now, as citizens, it's really time for us to put our foot down and say no. They want to take over the schools. The schools are all of this is based on test scores. We are testing our children too much. You all have so much power that you don't even know. That, we need to be saying no to a lot of things, to the testing, to the OSD, and everything else. And as my colleague said, of course, when you look at this, it makes it look like this is excellent. And as he said, it does. If you said no to that, you would think that you're crazy. But this is an incident or a situation where we do need to say no. What we should be doing, we should be out educating, and that's what we're doing here. As the other school board member said, in Fayette County, that's not an issue. So that is what really bothers me. You mentioned putting a different statement on the ballot, but are the other school districts that have passing schools, are they really going to care about what's happening for us? I don't know, because they don't have that problem here in Fayette. But in Atlanta, the metro school districts, we have the problem. And this is the election year. And I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I'm about to do it right now. Because the person that represented you, if that's Mr. Maper, I'm sorry, I like him as an individual, but excuse me, he did cast the yes vote. And then we had a couple of people in Clayton County that cast a yes vote. And if 2 of those people had just said no, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. And then we had another one over there in Savannah. Well, I'm looking at these big time folks. Okay, they said yes. Just 2 of those people just needed to say no. Now, of course, Mr. Maper he's not running now. And like I said, I like him and everything, but I don't like what he did in making that yes vote. Because now you said yes, and you riding off in the sunset because you don't have anybody that's going to be affected by this. So please also, not only this is November, but on May the 24th, you need to research these people that are running for office and what do they stand for, and you need to make the right decision and educate yourself, because that is just half of the battle. We have a chance, I'm in Fayette, but in Clayton County, we have a chance to make some changes on our board. I don't know if we have any Clayton County people in here, but I want you to be real careful about who you vote for on that school board as well. We have the opportunity for leadership at the board, at the commission level, all over the county, and we need to make the right decision right now. So I'm going to conclude, because I didn't hear what everybody else said, but I think they pretty much said everything. And I'm just going to say again, Just say no. Can y'all repeat that after me? Just
Say no.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Roxanne Wells.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm going to make my disclaimer as the other two previously before me. My opinion is all of my own. I don't represent any school district or any specific school, but I do represent the children because I am an educator and I do represent the educators. I heard a lot. I appreciate this forum because it has informed me. I didn't know. I'm in the system, and I did not know that this was on the ballot. I did not know this was at a topic of conversation. And I know if I didn't know, because I'm pretty informed, I know that my colleagues don't know as well. And it reminds me of a story. I am from Louisiana as well. So I know the New Orleans failing schools. I taught in the New Orleans failing schools. And I remember that it was an election year. And the choice was give teachers a raise or increase the tobacco charge. Well, when the vote went forward, the teachers didn't get a raise. And all the educators were in an uproar and wanted to know why. And the answer was because the smokers came out and voted. We have to let our teachers know what's going on, because I know they don't know. Our kids don't need a takeover. They need help. They need help. I see it every day. I see 650 of them every day. I see the struggle. We've just done tests. We've done mock tests because we have the statewide, the high stake testing that's coming up in a few weeks. And it's unfortunate that our kids are nowhere near where they need to be. So they don't need somebody else taking over. We don't need people that are not educators to give us decisions about education. We need to make sure our kids get what they need in the schools. We need to have our teachers supported. We want our teachers to do more, but on less salaries. We need our teachers to be supported. I wrote some things down. We need to go back to the basics. We don't need any more testing and testing and testing. The test already showed, the test that just came out from the state showed we were last, Clayton County. We were last. So what does that mean? That means we need to go back to the basics. So again, I appreciate this forum. I don't have a lot to say about it, but I do appreciate you all coming out. I do appreciate your diligence. I do appreciate your just say no. But I will also appreciate the educators that are here, my colleagues that are here, my friends that are here, to encourage your friends to find out information. We have to be well informed. We can no longer sit on our hands and act like we don't know. And then when something happens, decisions are made for us, then we get upset. And it's too late at that point. We have an opportunity now to make a difference, and we have to stand up and make a difference. So thank you again.
Thank you. Now we're going to just open this up for questions and answers. And if anyone has any pending questions that they've been holding on to for the last few minutes, please do feel free to ask those questions of the panel.
My name is Brenda Floyd, and I'd like to have a copy of what you're going to put on the ballot for Fayette County. But I have something else to say. I've been in the surrounding areas for 37 years. When I got here, the expressway took the black community. Downtown, 75, 85, maybe came later. Next time, I think it was the baseball stadium. And then after that, it was a football stadium moved black neighborhoods. Yeah, we got another one. This, to me, is another mechanism to take our property. I know already in my mindset, because I'm pretty good at sniffing things out, the schools that are going to be targeted are those that are near prime property. Near the expressways, near industry. It's going to be the better property. So why are we going to do this? Why are we going to let it go? Everybody in this room is intelligent enough to know what's going on. But we're not talking to the people, the kids' parents, the young folk that are not registered to vote, or who are registered to vote are not coming out to vote. Now, in the next few days, we need to make each one of these get warned. We need to talk to people in the grocery line. We need to talk to them at the salon. And we need to stay outside the braiding places. Because our people don't know the basics. And we're not teaching. And so we all have to put our head down. We're not so good and so important that we can't talk to each other. And that's what I got to say.
Thank you, Ms. Brenda.
Something else that I should have said when I was there, and I'm not sure if it was already spoken before I came, but the irony of this is that if the governor can fix these so-called chronically failing schools, but he needs to have a whole nother school district, excuse me, why doesn't he just implement this through the current Georgia Department of Education? If you have the answers to do this, we wouldn't have failing schools. But since it's all based on the test scores, and the only people that are gaining anything from the test are just the test publishers, and it's not even, and as you mentioned down here about going to the basics, the whole thing that bothers me is this word that I'm tired of hearing is about rigor. And you know what? What is wrong? I was looking at a practice test question, the number like 32 divided by 8. What's wrong with me just knowing it's 4?
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right.
But if I put that answer down on the Georgia milestone test, I'm gonna get graded a 1. Okay, but if I put 32 little dots on the paper and I draw a line around these, and then of course I'm gonna get a 4. But you know, if I'm in an airplane and the pilot, and they say, you know, you need to drop down so many feet. Now, if he can't figure out just right then and there how to get that plane down, but he's got to get out a sheet of paper and show me in a ray, I don't want to be on that plane. And the thing, and this is ridiculous. It's all set up with the test and the scores. And someone said that, you know, we had made these strides. Yeah, Clinton County had made some strides until they changed the test. And all of a sudden, it was a whole different way that we measured everything. And then, you know, then our score ended up being much lower. So that's my issue. If Deal can do that with opportunity, then he has the opportunity right now to make it right with the current Georgia Department of Education. But he doesn't want to do that.
We had a couple questions on here.
Good evening. One of my concerns about this bill is that we keep saying failing schools. Our schools are not failing schools. There is some challenges, but not failing. And so when parents see the word failing, first thing they say is, oh, I vote yes. It's all the mindset how parents think about it. So hopefully at some point they can change the word of failing to challenging schools, because the schools I went with the CAB schools, and we have 27 schools on the list. And 27 schools on the south side, not the north side, the south side. And all those schools have made gains over the years. And the CCRPI was not, the purpose was not to use that as a marker for certain schools. So we have to let them know that if your school's not failing, there's some challenges that we can't control based on economics, based on demographics, those type of things. So again, challenging schools, not failing schools, so they change that language.
She's going to explain it.
Actually, the term failing school really went out with AYP.
Right.
Because when you look at what the state measures now, it's looking at progress. So how can a school actually be failing when it's really an opportunity to make progress? Because that's what the state measures it by. So we really don't have failing in our vocabulary.
Just on that same note, and I want to ask something else. just talking to a lot of educators. I'm Ron Fowler with the Georgia Federation of Teachers. I'm an retired national AFT national representative. So when these kinds of things come out, I always come back and help out our affiliate here in Atlanta. But anyway, just from my experience point out, what happens is that a lot of times what we're finding in the urban areas in particular, these kids are coming in at such a low level. So speaking to what he said, they may come in, you may get your third grade teacher, you may get a child in your class, but they may be on first grade level. So by the end of that school year, they may bring that kid up, whole grade. That's progress. And so these are the things that are not talked about. So I kind of echo what you're saying. I kind of do echo what you're saying. That's the kind of thing that we need. Folks need to understand that there is progress, but the wraparound services he mentioned earlier, we got to do something about parental involvement. We got instances. It was in Louisiana, I believe it was, not Louisiana, in Virginia, low, high African American area. I mean, the parents are walking the kids to schools and hardly no shoes and anything else. But guess what? Their achievement level is 98%. And anywhere you go and you see high achievement, a lot of times one of the common denominators is parental involvement. And so we got to somehow push that. The other thing, if you take your pens out on these pamphlets that you're talking about, things like that, we're willing to get you any kind of materials you need. Just call the office, and that number is 404. It's on the thing there. If you don't see it, it's 404-315-0222. Okay, and it's on the vote no. So any kind of these little things here, because what she just said, this lady here, it's important to get this information out. People don't have it. We are already trying to get into schools in the different districts where we represent and try and talk to the administrators and superintendents, trying to get out, because it's sad to say, that's what we're finding. Teachers don't know. And in their defense, they're so overwhelmed just trying to get through the day. They don't look at anything, they're just trying to get to the day. In past times, they probably would be full aware of all of this kind of stuff. You just overwhelmed. Not an excuse, but the truth. So we want to try and have site meetings at the different schools where we can, and just kind of educate folks. But I want to charge each of you guys in here today. You're obviously interested, and like I was telling my colleague here, you guys are worth 10 people. When I see 30, 40 people, now I'm actually seeing that number multiplied by 10, because I know you here, we're going to go out and speak to people about this. And so we can keep that ball rolling and it happen. We don't have a lot of resources. These guys we've been going across Albany, St. Mary's, all across the state, making repeated visits. And our strategy right now, we thought it'd help to try and speak to a lot of ministers, and hopefully they'll be on board. And they have, and we help spread that word out, but that's not enough. We need to get more deeper into the community and not just leave it to these guys trying to do it. So we need your help. If you have a church that your minister willing to come out and just speak, we need 5-10 minutes like this gentleman. Everyone that got out there, they laid that thing out, and sure they could probably do that in 5 minutes. Lay it out and just get to the heart of the matter and get that word out. So any of you got little groups, neighborhood associations, any of that kind of stuff, we don't care about the crowd. You don't have to have it packed out. I believe in small crowds, and there again, I think with 5 people, that's 50 people I'm talking to. They're going to go out and talk. So we can get you those cards. If you need anything like that, call the office, ask for, that's Wendy Harper there. This is Ramonia Toombs. They are presidents of their local. She's out of Fulton County. She's vice president in Atlanta, and I'm like Summer retired national rep. We work with the Georgia Federation, Atlanta Federation of Teachers. My name is Ron Fowler, but we'd be glad to come out and just kind of give this thing, give you some information. We got videos on the Louisiana fiasco and all this kind of stuff. So just I charge again, just don't keep this to yourself. 404-315-0222, and you have my number from earlier today. But we can't sit on this. We can't keep it to ourselves. Thank you very much.
Ron, thank you so much. Let me dovetail onto that. And not only am I a candidate for House District 64, I'm Kathy Adams. I'm the president, the statewide president of Georgia Federation of Democratic Women. We are the sister chapter of the State Democratic Party. We too have an OSD Stop campaign going, and we are in over 20 chapters statewide in 20 different counties. We are writing position papers. We constantly have professionals who come in from different organizations who jump on our town hall conference calls. They speak. to educate the ladies in these various counties, and they are charged with the task of going back out into their local communities and educating the voters on the information that's on the ballot, the pros and the cons. Part of the problem we have is that not every county has a school on that list, on the governor's failing school list. Some that do have, we're finding in South Georgia, rural South Georgia, Southwest Georgia, that do have failing schools on that list, are saying, that's not a bad idea for the governor to come in and take over the school system. That's a good thing. Maybe our children will get, they'll learn something now. Maybe the school system will get better. So they really don't understand all of it, everything that's involved with this takeover of the school system. What happens not just today, not just next year, but what happens in the next 5 to 10 years down the road. So if it doesn't impact you directly, it will indirectly impact your neighbor, your family member, friend, statewide. And then what does this do? It dovetails into the impact on economic development. We got failing school systems, we can't have rooftops. You don't have rooftops, you can't have businesses. Why would a regional office or corporate office want to build in your neighborhood if the employees can't buy houses and the people that live in those houses don't have good schools for their children? So it's a cycle. We got to have good quality schools. So our organization is being tasked with, they've been tasked with educating people throughout the state in various counties, and we are continuing to grow. And like I said, we're in over 20 counties. But if you have print material, I'd love to get some.
Yeah, and one other thing, guys, we're not talking about just no. We have alternatives. One that he mentioned, community schools. So it's not just come up and say no. You come up with some solutions, some things that work. So a lot of materials in your pack that you have, I believe it's the blue sheet, it speaks to some alternative things that work. And AFT is very proud that it has substance based on substance. I mean, it's research-based. It's not some pie in the sky thing. It's research-based material. It's very good, and we know it works. Huh?
This is what I'm scared of.
We know it, and just, I mean, this is just a fact. And so that's what, you have to understand. We're not just saying vote no because we don't like Deal, or we don't agree with Deal doing. He's trying to do the state for his partners and all that kind of, we got that. No, we're saying we have some alternatives that truly work. And what she said earlier, if he has the answers already, my God, why aren't you using them? And one thing that I know when I go on and speak, replicate what's on the north side. A lot of times it's not working on the south side, and if that's working, then let's do what's on the north side. And we know a lot of times the resources are a lot greater. And so let's do the same thing there.
I want to add that one of the reasons why right now this is making it very simple and saying no.
Oh, yeah.
Because the ballot, it says yes or no.
Well,
right now, what should be happening as far as what's on that blue sheet are things that the school district should be trying to implement now to keep their schools from coming on there. Now, I know that people aren't real happy, and I'm a former member of AFT in Atlanta. Matter of fact, I remember you because I was, used to be very active in AFT. I was working in the city of Atlanta. But I know right now some of the parents aren't real happy with what the superintendent is doing with the Atlanta school.
Yes.
But I'm going to say that she's actually being proactive because she knows that if she doesn't do something, because there are, I think, 26 schools in Atlanta, that if you don't do something, if you're not trying to have an action, a plan of action to correct some things, definitely, they will be coming in. Last year, Kevin Johnson, who used to play for the Phoenix Suns, he's the mayor in, I can't remember, right, and, Michelle Reed is his wife. Okay, I didn't know that at the time. We had a forum over at Morehouse that they invited us to. Of the 200 people that were in the forum, I would say the majority was African American. They were all in there pumped up. They said, we want the elected officials to come. We want you all to stand up because you all made a bold statement. We want to applaud you all for what you did. Well, I was one of the elected officials. So they wanted us to come up front, and I can't remember anybody's name. What's the guy's name on TV one? Roland Martin. Oh, yeah, he's pro this too. So he told us to come on up. We want to applaud you all. I said, wait a minute, let me make one thing clear. They may have voted yes, but I am opposed to this. And as Straker said. Of course, everybody read this, they just seem like they think it's a good thing. So the young woman over there, they said we need to go out in the community. We need to go to the barbershops. We need to go wherever. And I'm going to tell you, let's talk about teachers. Let's talk about the fact that only about 37% of the teachers in Georgia are registered voters.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the fact that, you know, AFT, GAE, Page, let's go get these teachers registered so we can have more than 37% going to the polls. And if we could just get the teachers registered alone, then the next thing that we need to talk about is, I'm a member of GSBA, and I'm going to just put it out there, that organization needs to take a stand. These superintendents of these school districts need to take a stand. These board members of these school districts need to take a stand. But you know, pretty much everybody's a little bit afraid. I'm a bold sister.
No.
I have been through the loss of accreditation in my school district. And I had to go toe to toe with Mr. Mark Elgard. We are right now. But like I told him, you will not, you came down here and took away the accreditation. You didn't go into those other districts where it should have happened there. But this sister right here, well, my son is going to walk across the stage with an accredited diploma. So, you know, not only do we need to go out there and deal with the public, we need to deal with these educators, because we can say that teachers are overwhelmed if we want to. I was a teacher. I support teachers. But to me, that's an excuse, because teachers should know what's going on. You know that score determines, has something to do with your evaluation. All of this stuff, it all ties in. You need to, everybody needs to be informed, so we need to educate everybody. That includes teachers, the people in the community, the pastors, everybody needs to know. Sorry, AFT.
No, here's the problem.
One of the things that we have done in our organizations, we've partnered with GAE. We've had people come in and other organizations, we have written a position paper. There's actually like a 20-page document that's been published where they've been doing research for well over a year. So this is not just something that popped up overnight. It's not just that our organization wants to do this, wants to talk about this. We partner with other organizations. They got a lot of folk on board, on the committee, who have done research. Now they've been tasked statewide to get out and educate and touch as many voters as possible. And one of the things, and I applaud you for saying, let's get these people registered to vote. And let's not just go out and get people registered to vote.
Let's get them voting.
It's a two-part process. You can register to vote if you want to. And then some people check the box. Oh, I registered 500 people to vote. But did you get them to the polls? Right. Because if you don't get them to the polls, you haven't done due diligence. And you got to bring it full circle. But in addition to registering them to vote, you got to tell them why they need to go vote. Right. You got to educate them on what's on that ballot and what it means to them if they vote or if they don't vote. Right. And that's when it hits people most. You know, when it hits their pocket, they really understand what voting means, and then, you know, what it does for them and for the community.
Also, another issue is that, like I said, I work with GAE, but I work with DeKalb County schools and Henry County schools. Well, in DeKalb County, I pulled the records today. In DeKalb County in 2013, 187,000 voters voted yes for the amendment, and 130 voted no. So DeKalb County, the problem is parents are saying we want something different. So it's going to be a hard sell in DeKalb County to get these 187,000 folks to change their mind and say, don't support this. That's one of the problems we have. So it's a serious bill that's out there. And so we're working hard to make sure that parents understand it's not in the best interest of your children or your family or your nephew or nieces as well. So we're working on that as well.
Yeah. Just my charge to you board members, I know you're disclaiming, what your comments on happening, but we're trying to get into the schools, so we need your help, so we can have that access. We're accommodating. Right now, they're calling APS and we're trying to go in there and have 5-10 minutes at those faculty meetings. We realize those teachers they don't understand it. Our research tells us, but we're getting blocked. We're getting blocked. So if you guys can make that happen, you got the number.
Let me say this. Although I can't tell you our strategy,
Okay.
wink, wink, as we get closer to November, we will start seeing a bunch of boards start taking a stance. One thing you'll know about marketing in general is that things only last for a certain amount of period of time. we're way ahead of the curve right now. But it's not really going to matter, and I'm being honest with you. I graduated with a marketing degree. It's not going to really matter until we're 6 weeks, 8 weeks out. And that's when the noise really has to begin.
Okay, well, I'm an organizer, and as an organizer, you inoculate. All right, and you inoculate early, before the noise starts. Because when they come with serious money. They come in with serious money and everything else, and people, you may not hear the noise. We're trying to stop this so they're prepared. When it comes in, you get them now, you prepare them now. When that noise comes, they laugh at it. Well, that's the piece. So what I'm saying is, so we wait another 3 months to do whatever. It's too late. It's too late. You're not going to hear it. Now, I'm organized for 40 years. I know what happens. Inoculation.
We're going to help you because I'm going to thank Ms. Toombs there, because Ms. Toombs came to our board and really gave us this information. And, that is the problem in that, us taking a position, because actually, we actually took a position on a paper that we were going to put out, and, they tried to question that as to whether or not we could use taxpayer money to put in our pamphlet, for our legislative priorities for this year. But I'm going to see what we can do if you all want to come and try to meet with our faculty.
I got some pamphlets that don't say vote no. It's just the facts. It's all facts. It doesn't tell you how to vote like the ones we just passed out.
Right.
So there's a problem with
resolution that you have, right?
Yes. But I have pamphlets that just give you the facts.
We don't have as much money as the governor.
No.
It's a David and Goliath fight that we're going to be doing. And in that strategy, we have to definitely use our resources when we know that those resources are going to be highly effective. And as we get closer and closer to, first we got to figure out, as soon as we can get just a definition on who that Democratic president is going to be, we're gonna ride that wave right back in there, and that's the time where everybody's paying attention.
Let me say one more thing. To everyone in here, when you go to that website that we have on that red and black sheet that says vote no, look at the bottom of that website. Look at the bottom of that flyer that says vote no. There is a website there. The bill is on it. All the language is on it. All the facts that you need to know is on it. There's even the video that shows you what this looks like from New Orleans, where they're getting this from. All that stuff is there. So go to our website. We didn't copyright anything for the purpose of you pulling it out. Pull it off and give it to everybody you know. And if you need for us to bring it to you in print, all you have to do is call that office. That number is on there too. Call the office and say, hey, we need y'all to bring so-and-so. We need you to come out and speak to so-and-so. We will be happy to come out. Yes, we're starting early because we got a whole lot of people to talk to. And we need some more foot soldiers to go with us to talk to those people. Because this is going to tear our school systems up. We have got to do something. We cannot just stand around and say, we're going to wait. We can't do it. We can't do it. I applaud. You can have a plan. I applaud you. And I understand strategy. But for us, and for us to get the word out, we have to keep talking. We just have to keep talking.
Just on your note alone, and I'm being 100% honest and truthful with you, as soon as we decided that we were going to take a stand, you should have seen those lawyers coming out of that woodwork. And it's just not something that we want to battle with right now with the legalities of it. Because, like I said, if you ask me, I'm rolling with you. I'll go to every church that if you ask me as an individual taxpayer. But as a board, I definitely have to protect the integrity of my board and make sure that I do not get my board in any kind of, compromising situation. So if I wait at the last minute as a board, your legal team can't catch up to me when I throw out the big ace. So that's two different strategies.
So right now, I can say what you can't say. So just all you got to do is call.
That's right. We're working together.
Let me just say this, people. This is not just the 9 metro counties. Let's get out of that mindset. This is not just the metropolitan Atlanta area problem, okay? This is statewide. So don't let someone pull the wool over your eyes. This is not a 9 metro a problem. So we have this problem. We need to share this information statewide. If you've got family members, if you've got some co-workers, some colleagues live up North Georgia, Central Georgia, South Georgia, wherever. They could be in Rockdale, Habersham County, Dawsonville. We're in all those counties. We have chapters all over there. And we are trying to really educate these people on really what's going on.
Listening to you guys, it does sound like you're basically focusing on the schools here in the metro area. But because it is a statewide problem, and we have a lot of school systems like Fayette County, you have to approach this from a different view. You need to approach it with our schools today, your schools tomorrow. Because once this bill goes into effect, it's in effect for years to come. And just because you're in a good school system this year doesn't mean you're in a good school system 5 years from now. So we need to look at it from a different point of view when we're trying to get other school districts to buy into this.
I appreciate your comment. I'd like to bring up Mr. Green. He is a principal of Money Mill High School. However,
the disclaimer.
However, this is
and I don't actually. I'm just gonna make a comment. And I don't need to come up. And I can actually use my teacher voice. Give me honors to the pastor of the house. How are you, Pastor Glenn? And just thank you, Sister Pritchett, for having this forum tonight. Just from a building level perspective, as a building level principal, and again, I take that same disclaimer. I'm just representing a taxpayer here in Fayette County. I live in Fayette County, but I happen to work in a different county. But I work in a school in which I see wonderful children every day and hardworking individuals. And I want the visual that I think that people around the state really need to have. What's being offered to them? It does sound nice. I don't know why we don't have lawyers questioning the wording on this ballot. I mean, some other lawyers challenging it in court before it goes before the people. And the reason I'm saying that is because if I tell you, most of you have driven before or have cars. If I tell you that I'm going to offer you a new vehicle, but before I've offered you a new vehicle, I've taken your windshield wipers, then I took your windshield, and then I took your wheels, and then I said, I've got another vehicle for you. Most of you would say, I'll take that vehicle. But now you've paid for the other vehicle as they were taking these items from you. But now they're offering you a vehicle that's really not yours. They're not telling you if they're going to put gas in it. They're not going to tell you how many miles a gallon it gets.
It's a lease car.
But they're telling you, it's definitely a lease car because it's no longer your vehicle. As a principal, I have lost time for my students each year over the last few years. I've lost teachers for my school. I've lost textbooks and technology for students that need it. If I had those things back, we would be doing better than we're doing right now. You can't take those things from me and then tell me you can do something better for me. So what we need to continue to message to people is that those items have been taken away that have contributed to the issue. We need to be allowed to do the work that we know needs to be done. And those folks that we've elected to help govern us, allow them to do that work. That's all I wanted to share.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to have to start wrapping up, everyone. What I wanted to say is that this is just one piece, one component of the complexity of what we're facing in this 2016 election. Most people are focused on the presidential election, the hype with Trump, all of that. I can honestly say I have no idea what they're doing but clowning because I am way too focused on my own race and on the other races that I know I'm going to have to vote for. One of the things that I find as I'm knocking on doors, as I'm meeting people all the time, my qualifier as I conversate with people to know whether I'm going to say this or that, the first thing I say is, where do you live? I know
If you say you live in Ellenwood, you're probably in Sandra Scott's district. If you live in Atlanta, you're probably in this district, that district. Why do I know these things? Because I have to know these districts. I know my neighboring district. I'm at 63. 63 ends on 85. This church is physically located at 64. How do I know that? I know my maps. I know my districts. Now, I know what's on the ballot. You have a congressman. Most people, when I ask you, well, whose district do you live in? Oh, David Scott. No, that's your congressman. Who's your senator? Oh, I don't know. It is very important that you know what is going on in this game. It's extremely serious. Just how Jesse Goree pointed out, my representative voted for this. Most people wouldn't know that. You got to know who's doing what and what they're for. I felt that this was critically important to hold these meetings. This is the second one that I have scheduled, and we're going to schedule a third one in Clayton County because my district includes Fulton, Fayette, and Clayton. It's a lot of territory, but I feel that everyone has to know this information. I also feel that everyone has to know, you need to know what district you live in, who's your senator, who's your state representative, who's your sheriff, who's your school board. You have to know these things, and people don't. I know this because I guess I'm just a political junkie at this point. But it's not that I'm a political junkie. All of this affects what's going on with you. It's going to affect what kind of taxes you pay. Right now, we have something where I actually live in Fulton, unincorporated South Fulton, where they're trying to propose a city. And it's important. All of these things are important. That is important to me, but that's not important to someone who lives in Fayette. What I have done, the reason that I had everyone sign in is because I have a newsletter that I put out every week. And in that newsletter, I provide information so that you can know where you stand, where you live, who represents you. And so I want everyone to be able to write this down, although I'm going to email this information in the newsletter. If you will go on the Secretary of State website, it is www.sos.ga.gov. If you go on the tab that says Elections, and then you scroll down to My Voter page, you put in your first initial and your last name, and I believe your date of birth, and it's going to tell you everything. It's going to tell you, and your county. It's going to tell you what precinct you live in, who your congressman, and the number of the district. You need to know these things. It's very important. An additional piece of information I'll share with you is our primary, which is very important. The primary is designed to select your candidate for either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. And that primary election date is May 24th. That's a real important day. However, we have early voting. Early voting, which is called advanced voting, begins May the 2nd. That means on May the 2nd, you can go to your local voting office. In Fulton County, it will be at Stonewall Tell. Here in Fayette, it will be over by where the election board, the commission office is, and in Clayton, it'll be the old courthouse. You got to know these things. You got to stay ahead of the game. One of the things that I remember, and it sticks out of my head, and I'll never forget this, when I first ran for office back in 2012, I went to a meeting for people to sign up to do voter registration. I didn't know the meeting that was in Roswell was for the Republican Party, but I went anyway. I mean, I went. When I got there, I'm like, okay, I'm here. There was this lady. I say she was 99 and a half. I'm serious. She was in a wheelchair, and she had an oxygen tank. And it was 8 o'clock, like on a Tuesday night like this. She was there. That's how they do. They meaning people that are serious about their life, governing where they live, choosing the people that represent them. The people in the other party, they get exactly what they want. They vote for exactly who promotes their agenda. And then we look at a ballot and we go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Some people choose, I'm going to choose a woman because this or that. You have to know who your candidates are. The reason why I even put on these events and I've collaborated and invited other candidates to be here Because I want you to know exactly who I am, exactly what I stand for, exactly what I do. Because when it comes time for the election, you could say, well, hey, at least Ms. Pritchett, she gave us the information. Yes, sir?
Linda, my name is Terry Wilson, and I'm also running for District 64. But I'm speaking tonight not as a candidate, but as a taxpayer and someone that very much appreciates that you put in this bill. I found it to be extremely educational. Something that troubles me, just on the surface, is that it seems to me that, as the gentleman here said, that if you read the question the way that it's construed, 99.99% of the voters are going to automatically vote yes for it. So there is a major educational outreach endeavor that needs to take place, and the gentleman from AFP that said it needs to be started now rather than 6 weeks before the election is absolutely correct. As it was mentioned, it isn't just the Atlanta metro area, but it is all over. And several of you are on school boards, and I've heard mention of boards thinking about coming out and educating the staff and teachers. This is something that really you can't wait to do. You have to start partnering with organizations like Better Georgia and others that start getting the word out on what this truly means to make a difference. I applaud you all for coming out, and thank you so very much for the invitation.
I think we're forgetting one important aspect of all of this. As a teacher, I always found out my students were very interested in what went on in the world around them. If you want the word out, start telling the students. Students will spread the word for you, but you have to educate them on what they're going out to spread.
I think that was an excellent point, because if you put it on Facebook, everyone will know about it. And perhaps we do have to come up with some language or something to, OSD, vote no, or I don't know, but we'll come up with something, to put on Facebook, to put on Instagram, to get the kids involved, saying, hey, Mom, Dad, do you know about this? Because Dr. Wells brought up just such a good point, that she did not know. And I think we had a conversation, we were talking yesterday, and I asked her to be on the panel because I felt she had a lot to contribute. And I'm really amazed, number one, that most teachers don't know. And I'm amazed, Jesse, the statistic that you brought out of the number of teachers, and I think everybody was as shocked and awed when you said 38%, 37 are registered voters. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. So we all have to do a better job, but I'm glad that we all have come together and that we all are going to do the best that we can to push this forward. I'll give you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm thinking that Jeffrey Benoit, Clayton County National Action Network. And we're going to work with this thing here next month in the national conference in New York. And we're talking about Georgia. But as you said there, I think one of the things we need to do is take that exact wording and place that on Facebook, so they know exactly what the wording is, so they're not going to be tripped up behind that. And maybe at some point we might want to put enough money together within these organizations to run a couple of commercials. Not that we got to get some rock star to do the commercial, but put the exact wording on a commercial and just vote no for that. They need to see that. And I believe if they can see what the wording is, when they see that wording, they'll be braced for that. But if we don't tell what the wording is and it sounds so flowery, would you like to help failing schools raise their achievement level? Of course. Of course. So we need to put that particular wording out so that they know what that wording is actually doing. It is a manipulator, it's a committee.
That's two things. Dr. Lockley in Chatham County has always spoken out against OSD and doing things with it. Also Park County as well.
That's right.
But also there's a coalition with AFT, GAE, and other folks right now that's going on. You look to join as well to get the word out as well.
One across the state.
Yeah.
So I'm going to close out, everyone, thanking you again for coming out this evening. If you have any further questions, you need any more information, you have that website here on the bottom of this page, but you can also email me, and my email address is extremely simple. It's vote4linda@gmail.com. And we have recorded this tonight, and I will put this up on my YouTube channel, and I'll put this up on my Facebook page, so that if you want to go over it, you can see the information. And then also, as I put things on Facebook, you can share. You can share the information with others. But I thank my panel. Thank you for coming out, taking time out of your busy schedule. Thank you for everyone that came with this information, and I hope that you go back to others and you share this with them. And like I said, we will schedule a third meeting in Clayton County, and I will let everyone know via email and newsletter. So thank you, and have a good evening.